The desert is silent. Until it isn't. Sparks jump from a shattered device on the dirt floor of a barn, pulsing like a second heartbeat. The air tastes metallic, like a storm without rain. Outside, military headlights slice through the dust. Engines idle. Boots grind gravel. Someone doesn't just know about this. They were already looking for it. A frequency rises from the broken device. Not sound. Meaning. It carves a name into the mind of the man kneeling beside it. A name he has never spoken aloud. A name someone has been listening for. Screens inside the approaching vehicles scramble. Government scanners distort. The frequency is trying to speak, to reveal who decides what humanity should believe, and who blocks the messages meant to reach us. If you believe truth shouldn't be buried, comment. Not this time. And before they cut this signal, subscribe so they can't silence the next part of this story. The headlights surge closer. The signal is seconds away from being erased. The signal dies in the barn, and we rewind to the moment everything started. Morning arrives like an apology that never fixes anything. Eli Turner wakes before the sun, not because he's rested, but because sleep never stays. The desert air in West Texas is cold at dawn, sharp enough to make the lungs sting. His breath fogs the window as he stares across 50 acres of nothing scrub brush, rusted fencing, and a barn roof that rattles every time the wind decides to remind him who's in charge. The nearest town is 48 miles away. Marathon. Population small enough that everyone knows who stopped showing up to church. Folgers drips into a cracked mug. He doesn't look at the pile of mail on the table. Envelope on top. Second notice mortgage past due. He knows the number without opening it. He also knows shame weighs more than debt. Eli moves through the kitchen like a ghost, still learning where the furniture sits. The place used to feel full pan sizzling Sunday eggs, his wife laughing at him for burning toast again, gospel music playing on a tiny countertop radio. Now the only sound is the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional sigh of a house that misses being lived in. He sets a bottle of heart medication beside the mug and stares at the label. No insurance, no safety net, just a 62-year-old man who knows one medical emergency could finish what time started. On the fridge is a photo of his son, grinning in front of a new home in Dallas. Eli wasn't in the picture. Eli wasn't invited. There are wounds that bleed, and wounds that echo. Inside the barn, the air smells like dust and motor oil. It is the only place where Eli still feels useful. A folding table holds his entire life skill set. DeWalt drill, soldering iron, tangled wires, half-dismantled CB radios brought by ranchers too broke to buy new ones. He does the repairs cheap, sometimes for cash, sometimes for eggs or propane. He doesn't complain. Money is money. Silence is silence. He flips open a notebook filled with parts lists and overdue jobs. Every page is neatly written, labeled with dates. Organization is one of the few things he can still control. But today, his handwriting looks shaky. He feels it again, that heaviness in his chest. Doctors call it stress. He calls it everything he never said out loud. There is a Bible on the shelf behind him, tucked between a jar of screws and a box of resistors. He hasn't opened it since the funeral. He dusts around it, never touches it. The barn lights flicker, just once. He tells himself it's the breaker. He tells himself a lot of things. Outside, the desert wind rises. Grains of sand hit the tin siding like tiny bullets. He keeps working. Afternoon light slants through the cracked barn windows. The dust glitters like floating stars. Eli leans over a broken radio, soldering a joint so small it could be mistaken for a sliver of hope. This skill, this one stubborn talent, is the only thing that hasn't failed him. Out here, loneliness doesn't arrive with fanfare. It grows like weeds. He sets the radio aside and rubs the ache in his shoulder. Time has made him slower. Life has made him tired. But grief has made him invisible. His wife used to say he fixated on problems so he didn't have to feel pain. Now problems are all he has left to talk to. He takes a long breath. The metallic scent of solder. The dry tang of desert dust. The quiet. Always the quiet. The AM radio on the shelf crackles. Static. Then silence. Then something else. A sound so low he almost mistakes it for memory. Not the wind. Not interference. A hum. Deep. Steady. Wrong. It vibrates through the floor. Through his boots. Through bone. Tools on the pegboard tremble barely, like a breath held too long. The window glass quivers. The barn seems to inhale. Something beneath the desert wind is waking. The hum grows louder. It shakes the windows. West Texas dust storms don't ask permission. They arrive like a wall, brown, violent, alive, rolling across the land with the arrogance of something older than time. The temperature drops so fast Eli can feel it in his teeth. The wind slams into the barn, ripping at the siding, screaming through gaps in the wood like a warning he isn't meant to understand. The floor vibrates. The hum returns, stronger, clearer. It threads through the storm as if the weather were only a carrier signal. Lights flicker. A fluorescent tube explodes overhead. Glass rains onto the floor in a shower of glittering needles. Eli steps back. His boot crunches the shards. He's repaired radios for 35 years and has never heard this frequency. It isn't static. It isn't random. It moves like something alive, adjusting, searching, narrowing its focus. The AM radio slides across channels on its own. Click, click, click. The knob doesn't turn. The radio face does, as if guided by an unseen hand. It stops at a frequency he knows isn't used for anything. A thin wail pushes through the speaker, sharp enough to tighten the spine, soft enough to sound like the beginning of a song. Eli reaches toward the dial. Then the storm answers. A massive gust slams the barn doors inward. Dust spirals into the air. Tools crash from shelves. A wrench skids across the concrete and hits the radio hard. The sound inside the radio changes. It becomes structured, layered, intentional, not random. A signal. Eli's pulse hammers. He leans closer, listening. The frequency drops to a low tone, then rises precise, mathematical. It is not interference. It is communication. The barn lights dim. The radio speaker vibrates violently, shaking the casing. The needle on the meter jumps into the red. The frequency peaks. A sudden burst of white noise hits like a shockwave, rattling the windows and slicing the air. Outside, the storm changes shape. Lightning without thunder. Light without origin. Not a bolt. Not a flash. A sheet of white light unfolding across his land like someone peeling open the sky. It hangs there flat, silent, pulsing. Dust moves through it and emerges glowing, as if touched by something not of this world. The ground beneath Eli trembles. For a moment, he forgets to breathe. Something just crossed into his world. Something that wasn't supposed to. The light flickers. Darkness returns, but the hum remains. Not from the radio, not from the storm, from the earth itself. A sheet of white light opens on Eli's land, and something stepped through. The storm ends the way a heart attack does, sudden, wrong, leaving a silence that feels like someone cut the sound from reality. Eli steps into the night with a flashlight trembling in his hand. The desert is no longer moving. It is holding its breath. 48 miles of empty West Texas land stretch in every direction. No headlights on the horizon, no coyotes calling, not even crickets. Dust lies flat against the ground instead of drifting. The air feels pinned down by something unseen. His boots sink into soft dirt as he walks toward the place where the white light collapsed. Each step takes him farther from everything he understands. The beam of his flashlight cuts across the earth and stops. The land is... A wide circle of soil has liquefied into black glass, smooth as a lake frozen mid-wave. The edges curl upward, fused in ripples. Whatever passed through didn't burn the dirt, it changed the structure of it. Heat radiates from the surface. He can feel it through the soles of his boots. At the center, half buried like something trying to hide or escape, is a metal shape the size of a lunchbox. Not a box, a device. No seams, no screws, no buttons, just a mirrored surface and a faint pulse deep inside. Blue, soft, rhythmic. Not light, not electricity, a heartbeat. The hum reaches Eli's ribs and presses against them like invisible hands. It isn't loud, yet it fills him. He senses not through hearing, but through the body that this thing knows when he's close. Warmth rolls off the device. It feels alive. He crouches. His breath fogs against the metal. The pulse brightens just a flicker like recognition. The hairs rise on his arms. A memory flashes. Nights in this same pasture. Scanning the sky for weather fronts as a younger man. Dreaming of being a pilot. Believing he had a future that stretched beyond fences and fences and fences. Now something has fallen from the sky to land at his feet. His reflection appears on the surface, warped and ghost-like. He looks older, lonelier. The hum grows stronger. The blue light pulses again, slower this time, like it's waiting. A sudden heat flare bursts through the glass ring beneath him. The ground shakes. Eli stumbles back, instinct overriding awe. Cracks race through the glass circle sharp. Spidering fractures like something beneath is pushing up. He raises the flashlight and sweeps it across the ground. 3 impressions interrupt the smooth glass. Indentations. No tread marks. No hoof prints. No boot pattern. 3 elongated impressions. Evenly spaced. Like toes. Long. Radiating weight. Not human. More prints appear fresh, trailing toward the barn. Someone, or something, is already inside. The barn door hangs open. Wind does not move it. It is held there still like a door frozen mid-thought. Eli feels the cold at the back of his neck before he sees anything. Not a chill from weather. A chill from recognition. The kind the body understands before the mind allows it. The flashlight beam lands on toolboxes scattered across the floor. Not tossed. Not spilled. Arranged. Every metal object in the shop has shifted wrenches lined in a straight path. Screws forming arrows on the concrete. Rolls of electrical tape stacked into a perfect spiral. The pattern points deeper into the barn, toward the welding curtain. The hum from the device outside is gone, but a new vibration replaces it. Slower. Alive. Breathing. Eli's pulse sinks to it despite himself. He steps inside the barn, moving as if his body belongs to someone else. Dust particles hover in the air, suspended, not falling. Time does not feel steady here. Behind the curtain movement, not sudden, not threatening, weak. A silhouette struggles to stand, then holds itself against the wall-mounted drill press. It sways, as though gravity reluctantly applies to it. Pale skin, or something like skin, catches the faint lantern glow. Smooth, with no visible seams or pores. Like river stone warmed by hands that have never existed. Its limbs are too long, too graceful, too intentional. Eli waits to feel fear. Instead, he feels watched by something that understands him before he understands himself. The being lifts its head. The space between them changes. Images erupt into Eli's mind, not memories, not fantasies. Projections. A cathedral without walls. A storm forming without clouds. A single frequency weaving through both, meaning replaces language. The being doesn't speak. It shows. A spiral of sound waves. A map of signals wrapping the earth like a cage. A lattice bright points where thoughts intersect. The projections flood Eli's mind faster than dreams can form. The being steps toward him, each movement gentle but weighted with exhaustion. It isn't threatening, it's collapsing. Something inside the being dims, a flicker of its internal glow. Eli catches the faint smell of ozone, the scent of electricity moments before lightning chooses where to hit. The being projects again, this time not a map or a frequency, a memory. Eli sees himself in the kitchen years ago, hands stained with engine grease, laughing with his wife as she flicks water at him. Her smile is a sunrise. Her presence is gravity. The being isn't reading his thoughts. It is showing him that it already knows them. The projection shifts. The kitchen disappears. A wet road appears. Headlights shimmer off ice. His wife's truck slides sideways down a ranch road. Tires lose grip. The steering wheel jerks in her hands. Eli tries to shout, but no sound leaves him. The being is showing him something he never saw, only imagined in nightmares. Her final moment, her last breath. Her eyes searching the dark, not for help, but for him. The projection snaps out. The barn goes black. Eli staggers back, gutted by a loss he thought he had buried. He realizes the truth. This being did not learn his grief. It arrived already knowing. The being struggles to remain upright. Every projection drains it. Every memory costs strength. Its body trembles, then folds to the ground with the quiet of a falling leaf. The barn seems to wait. Eli steps forward. Not because he is brave, but because something inside him shifts. The hum returns weak but steady, and from that hum emerges a truth he cannot unknow. The thing in his barn is not a threat. It is stranded, and it needs something. The vision returns his wife's final moment, but this time, her lips form a word he never heard. The barn lights stop flickering. Not because they stabilize, because something else begins to illuminate the space. Soft blue radiance pulses from the device sitting on the workbench, the same impossible object he pulled from the glassed field. The light grows stronger, synchronized with the being's shallow breaths. Eli watches the pulse rise, dim, rise again. The rhythm matches his own heartbeat. The device is linked to the being. Their survival is shared. The hum shifts into a pattern, long, short, long, like a coded request. Eli understands without understanding why. The projections weren't random. They were context. The being shows him another. His younger self in a community college classroom, surrounded by aircraft blueprints and dreams. The instructor praises his wiring diagram. He is 20. He believes time is infinite, but a call comes. His father collapses at the ranch. Responsibility steals the future. The projection dissolves. In the present, the device flickers harder now, almost panicked. A new vision surges into Eli's mind. A blueprint of the device, not mechanical, dimensional. It reveals an internal structure that doesn't behave like circuits. Geometric layers bend into each other, reshaping with intention instead of tools. The being needs the device repaired. The being chose Eli, because Eli's entire life fixing broken things for other people prepared him for this moment. Another projection forms, not from the being, from the device. This time, Eli sees something he was never meant to see. A network of energy around Earth, pulsing like a cage of light and shadow. Every time a human prays, a thread of light shoots upward. Most threads fade before reaching anywhere. Not because prayers are ignored, because something intercepts them. A lattice, a net, a barrier built around human thought, not to protect, to control. The being's body flickers, as if the projection costs it something precious. Eli looks at the device. He knows what it wants. Wires, tools, connection. His hands were built for this, not to earn money, to rewrite destiny. A final projection flashes brief, urgent. Help me, and you will learn who controls human belief. The words burn into Eli's mind. The choice is his, and nothing will be the same when he decides. Eli brings the device to the center of the workbench and shuts the barn doors against the cold. Dust settles. The storm outside feels miles away now, like a memory fading faster than it should. The object pulses once slow, deliberate, like it is aware of being moved. The metal is warm under his palms, not from machinery, from presence. He presses the edge of his thumbnail against the surface, expecting resistance. It opens without pressure. The casing unfolds like petals responding to thought, revealing a chamber that should not exist. No wires, no solder, nothing mechanical, only geometry shapes that shift and reform as if obeying laws written somewhere outside physics. Delicate lattices stretch like spiderwebs across empty space. They aren't connected to anything. They simply are. Eli's tools react before he does. The screwdriver glides gently across the bench, tugged by an invisible pull. Not magnetism, not electricity, but something subtler. The DeWalt drill leans toward the device, as if gravity tips differently here. His breath catches. Tools don't choose direction. Not on their own. He reaches for a fine-tipped probe. The metal vibrates against his fingers. When he points the probe toward the inner lattice, the geometric shape bends away like a shy animal. This is not circuitry. It's conscious design. The probe trembles until it points at a tiny node of light suspended inside the framework. It is not soldered, not fixed. It hovers anchored to nothing. His hand tingles. His mind tingles. When he focuses his attention on the node really focuses, it brightens. The device responds to intention. A revelation hits him, heavy and disorienting. This thing doesn't want to be worked on. It wants to be understood. Eli takes a steadying breath. He places his hands beside the device, not touching the internal components, just present. The node stabilizes. Another lattice shifts. A second node appears. Tools start moving again, rearranging themselves around the workbench. Not violently, purposefully. The soldering iron warms without being plugged in. The multimeter screen lights up, cycling through measurements that don't belong to any known scale. This is not repair. This is alignment. And yet, somehow, Eli feels calm. In a world where everything has taken from him, here is something that needs him. He touches the tip of the iron to a point of soft blue light. The device emits a tone soft, rising like a breath after drowning. The light threads through the lattice, bridging shapes that didn't touch a moment earlier. The hum deepens. The device wakes. Then, a burst. Not of light, not of sound. A frequency slams into the barn like a wave. Eli gasps and grabs the edge of the table to stay upright. Static explodes through the air. Not random static. Voices. Human voices. A scrambled transmission crackles into existence. Not through the radio nearby, but through the device itself, clear enough to cut bone. Military cadence. Tight. Urgent. Recovering object. Suspected non-terrestrial origin. Do not engage civilian. Containment team en route. Eli freezes. They already know. His hands hover over the device, suspended between terror and awe. The signal sharpens. Filtering through the static, classified military audio fills the barn. Silence returns. Not peace. The silence of a battlefield before ammunition is fired. The device glows brighter, shifting from soft blue to a sharp, fevered white. The air above it ripples, bending like heat rising off pavement. Images surge into Eli's vision. Not memories, but revelations. Earth seen from space. Thousands of thin rings encircle the planet, stacked layer by layer. Not satellites, but frequencies. The rings pulse. Each pulse triggers human emotion. The projection zooms closer. Cities flash beneath the frequency grid. New York, London, Tokyo. Each one lit not by streetlights, but by screens. Billboards, monitors, phones held like devotional candles. Screens are not tools. Screens are altars. When people rage, a dark pulse spreads across the grid. When fear spikes, the rings tighten. When outrage dominates, the network brightens like a feeding organism. Humanity is not being controlled by weapons. Humanity is being controlled by attention. The projection shifts again. Leaders in boardrooms gesture at graphs, anger, division, profit. Not governments, marketing teams, platforms shaping belief for revenue. The lattice drinks emotion. Fear is currency. Outrage is energy. The device glows red, painfully red. Eli grips the workbench to steady himself, breath shallow. This is a war that never needed bullets. A war fought in frequency, through screens, through dopamine, through algorithms that decide what we see and what we forget. A final image sears itself into Eli's mind. A cathedral, not holy, digital. Millions kneel not before God but before devices. They check first thing in the morning and last at night. Screens raised to their faces like communion bread. The barn lights explode, every bulb shattering at once. And the device burns red hot. Darkness swallows the barn. Only the red device illuminates the space, throbbing like a warning beacon. Outside, a low mechanical hum slices through the night. Not the hum of nature, not wind. Rotors. 2 drones sweep across the property, each one carrying a spotlight bright enough to peel the desert open. They move mechanically, scanning the ground in perfect grids. No hesitation. No confusion. These aren't hobby drones. They belong to someone used to intrusion. Eli's breath fogs in the cold air. Tires crush gravel near the county road. Unmarked SUVs. Black. Windows tinted darker than legality. He doesn't need a badge to know authority. The desert teaches that faster than any school. The transmitter on the bench vibrates, pulling signals out of the air. Voices leak into the barn. Sheriff's dispatch. Encrypted. Possible foreign satellite breach. Citizen interference suspected. Subject may already have contact. The temperature drops. The drones pivot toward the barn, beams tightening into surgical points of white fire. Dust swirls against the metal siding, glowing like ash. Inside the barn, the device reacts. Not with defense, with urgency. The multimeter screen flashes numbers that aren't numbers, coordinates, timing, instructions. His workbench becomes a control center he never asked for. The barn door shakes, not from wind, from presence. Footsteps crunch outside, measured, cautious. Eli's pulse slams into his ribs. He tries to swallow air. The device emits a sharp ping. The radio beside it switches on. A new transmission bleeds through the static. Encrypted, low, official. A voice reads a target identifier. It says Eli's name. His full name repeats over the transmission as if they aren't searching, as if they already know. The device shifts from red to white. The being has returned. Not physically, through projection. Light bends into a shape forming above the lattice. Not a body. An outline of consciousness. The barn temperature changes, not warmer, not colder, just charged. As if air decides to listen, images flood from the being into Eli's mind. A child kneeling next to a bed, whispering hope into hands pressed together. A woman crying in a hospital chapel, begging for mercy. A man gripping a steering wheel, asking to survive one more night. Threads rise from each prayer like thin strands of light, but they do not reach heaven. Most threads hit a barrier, a frequency band surrounding Earth like a collar around a throat. Prayers do not fade. Prayers are intercepted. Eli sees his own life overlay the vision. Years of pleading for answers. Years of silence. Not because the divine ignored him, because something blocked the connection. The frequency net absorbs hope and converts it into obedience. He sees the mechanism. When humans feel spiritually abandoned, they start searching for comfort elsewhere. Anger, addiction, numbness, screens. The unseen hierarchy feeds, not on faith, on despair. Eli's knees weaken. He grips the bench to stay standing. The projection closes in on a specific thread, his wife's final prayer before the crash. She wasn't asking to be saved. She was asking for him not to carry the blame. The thread hits the barrier. It dims. It is never delivered. She died thinking her prayer went unanswered. Eli lived believing God stayed silent. Silence wasn't divine. Silence was theft. A final sequence of projections erupts. Military installations, corporate data farms, communication towers masquerading as cell networks. The lattice doesn't just block prayer, it harvests belief. The device dimly flickers, energy fading. The projection strains, as though someone or something detects the breach. The being sends one last emotional truth. Humanity never lost contact with God. Someone interfered. A single message forms in Eli's mind, urgent, terrified. They are coming to erase this. The repair completes itself with a sound that isn't mechanical. It's biological, like an exhale from something that has waited centuries. A surge of white light floods the barn, clean, cold, absolute. Every nail, every tool, every speck of dust becomes suspended in midair. Time does not stop. Time stretches, thinning into threads so fine they almost hum. Eli is no longer aware of his hands, only the pull in his chest. The transmitter rises from the workbench without being touched. The geometric lattices inside spin and fold through one another, forming shapes that shouldn't exist in 3 dimensions. The air smells like rain on stone, like the moment before a storm chooses where to strike. A connection forms. The outline of the being flickers near the rafters, shimmering with new strength. Its energy pours through the transmitter, like blood returning to a sleeping limb. Light forms a spine, branching like roots through the lattice. Then the world tears open, not physically, historically. The transmitter projects not as images this time, but as immersive memory. Eli is no longer standing in a barn. He is standing inside time, a desert older than the one beneath his boots, a sky without satellites. People gathered around a fire, staring upward, not praying to gods, but speaking directly into a frequency they understood as instinct. Connection was once natural. Every human being born with a signal, but something changed. The scene shifts. Temples rise. Altars appear where fields once were. Faith becomes controlled, packaged, translated by those who discovered that belief is power, and power can be harvested, not by heaven, by rulers. Another flash faster. Monarchs crowned by approval not from people, but from something unseen that whispered through dreams. Influence disguised as inspiration. A final sequence strikes like lightning. World leaders seated at polished tables, their expressions calm, their eyes empty, not possessed, directed. The hidden architecture becomes clear. Belief shapes reality. Control belief, and you control reality. The transmitter pulses harder like a heart under stress. Eli's body shakes. His vision fractures. He is seeing history not as it was taught, but as it was edited. The being's consciousness sweeps through him, not with force, with sorrow. Humanity was never disconnected from God. Humanity was rerouted. The lattices inside the transmitter lock into final alignment. The device glows white. Then, another signal arrives. Not from the being's people. Not from anywhere above. From Earth. A flat, monotone frequency, cold and metallic, slices through the connection. No emotion. No humanity. Only command. Eli doesn't hear words. He feels ownership. A message from those who benefit from silence. A second transmission forces itself into the barn, origin unknown, power unmistakable. The barn lights die, not flicker. Die. In a single ripple, the power grid collapses across Brewster County. The horizon goes black: ranch houses, gas stations, even the distant glow of the highway. The barn becomes the only source of light in 50 miles. Its white glow carving a hole in the darkness like a lighthouse guiding something far more dangerous than ships. Eli's heartbeat becomes the loudest sound in the world. The transmitter pulses with a steady, controlled rhythm. Its glow leaks through the cracks of the barn's siding and spills across the dirt like a beacon. Outside, engines approach. Slow, deliberate. Someone or something cuts the phone line. The wire falls, brushing the ground like a dead snake. The silence that follows is not empty. It is listening. Footsteps crunch the gravel outside, soft enough to suggest training, heavy enough to confirm intent. Multiple sets, moving in formation. Eli feels the weight of being suddenly, irreversibly noticed. This is no longer curiosity. It is containment. The transmitter emits a blinding flash of violet. A burst of indignation. Words form not aloud, not spoken, pressed into Eli's consciousness like a stamp. They are here. The transmitter warns him someone is already inside the perimeter. The barn air grows heavy. The transmitter dims to a deep, wounded blue. The being's outline flickers unstable now, strained by the intrusion. Knowledge has a cost, and Eli sees the debt collecting. The world offers no neutral ground for truth. Truth either liberates or destroys. Eli stares at the device. In his mind, two futures branch. In one, he smashes the transmitter. He returns to his empty kitchen, his unpaid bills, his unanswered prayers. No one would know. In the other, he activates the transmitter fully. The signal breaks containment. The truth spreads like wildfire across consciousness. But once that happens, the forces outside won't stop. They won't negotiate. They will erase. He weighs his decision. The barn is silent, except for the clicking of cooling metal. Dust hangs motionless in the beam of the transmitter's dying light. He thinks of the unanswered prayers. He thinks of every moment he believed God was silent. He realizes it wasn't silence. It was interception. He feels something crack inside. Not anger, but clarity. The world is already dangerous. Ignorance doesn't make it safer. His hand reaches toward a wrench lying on the floor. His choice is made. He grabs the wrench, and the lights go black. Darkness swallows everything. Only the pulse of the transmitter paints the air, faint and trembling. Eli stands at the barn door. Under the doorframe, shadows move human shapes silhouetted by night vision goggles. Their breath feathers in the cold air. They do not speak. They simply wait for orders. For a moment, Eli feels like a man standing between two worlds, the one that broke him, and the one that finally explained why. He tightens his grip on the wrench. He does not do it for rebellion. He does not do it for revenge. He does it because the truth is a living thing, and someone is trying to kill it. The being materializes behind the transmitter, weak, flickering, barely holding shape. Its energy funnels into the device, offering the last of itself to ensure the connection completes. A final message fills Eli's chest like breath. Now you will see who really rules this world. Eli turns back toward the workbench. He is done being silent. Light erupts. The transmitter fires a beam straight up through the barn roof. The night sky splits. Every drone in the air stalls mid-flight. Every SUV dashboard dies. Every radio frequency in Brewster County goes silent. For the first time in human history, the lattice around the world blinks, and something on the other side looks back.